to my next video podcast about knitting and sewing and other creative things. My Instagram is Orchid's Heart and I am recording in Birmingham, England. I live here with my partner and that's it. I'm in my sewing room today. You've seen various glimpses of this room before. I normally sit on the floor. I'm feeling a bit awkward in this setup actually. I don't know, normally I feel like when I film you only see me from like here up. It feels a bit strange sitting on an actual chair, but I was trying to get like more of the room in shot. I don't know why, just felt like trying a different setup. So I'm not really sure if it works or not. I read that the back camera on the phone was better than the front camera quality wise, and I tried to film like that and it did look better, but it kept autofocusing a lot more than it does the other way around. So I decided to stick with my normal setup in that respect, trying to make the quality better without actually spending any money. Yeah, debatable. I feel a bit resty. I've just come back from a big holiday, which is really exciting, and I've started this 4 times. First time because I was really blabbery, second time because next door's children wouldn't stop screaming and crying and it got too loud, and third time I got a reasonable way in and my partner walked through the door. So he's been away from the weekend and I wasn't expecting him back till later. So now I feel a bit awkward because he's up there and he can probably hear everything I'm saying, although I've asked him to put headphones on and ignore me. So yes, I've never recorded one, I don't think, with him in the house before. So if I'm talking a bit quieter, that's why. Although maybe I'll try and turn the volume up when I'm editing it, which I normally do anyway, because I'm always worried it'll be too quiet. Sorry, I could hear something outside. Better that you turn me down than you can't hear me at all, because I know that when people are recording podcasts without any special equipment, it can be quite hard to hear people. For some I have to put my headphones on so that I can hear it, otherwise it's too quiet. So I don't know if mine's the same or not, being that I don't watch my own podcast once it's gone on YouTube. I do watch it sometimes when I'm editing it, so I can play back and see where I need to stick things. But I don't know if it's the same on YouTube or not. But anyway, so I have just got back from a really big holiday in Mexico. I went to Mexico 2 years ago, and whilst I was there, some of you know, COVID hit most of the world. I mean, obviously it was already a problem. The day I went, my mother was a bit like, don't go, things are going to go south really quickly. And I was really adamant that I'd spent like £700 on the flight, therefore I was going. Maybe stupid, but actually it was fine in the end. I was with a friend, so we just spent a lot of time together, and primarily one of the main reasons why I was going was to see that friend. So rather than necessarily seeing Mexico, that was kind of a bonus. She is Mexican, and so yeah, but anyway, so going back felt really bizarre because it was basically the same time 2 years later. So it felt kind of emotional and surreal and weird, but it was fantastic to see her and fantastic to have the holiday perhaps that we originally wanted to have 2 years ago because we had a road trip. We drove, she lives in like a semi-desert, so she described it as semi-desert. I'm not really sure what semi-desert means. It looked quite deserty to me. Cactuses everywhere and not much other plant life. But not quite like Looney Tunes type cartoons. That isn't a fair representation of it. Not that it's trying to be. We drove through to some spaces that were a lot more green. We drove up to the mountains, which was scary and amazing and beautiful. And then we drove down to the sea and saw the sea, and then drove all the way back again. It took us a week to drive to the sea, and then we did the whole drive back in 2 days. After that, I then flew 25 hours to get home, across 3 flights, and I was a mess by the time I got back. I'd clearly caught cold or something on the way there, which was also like a 25-hour journey. So I was a bit unwell the whole time I was there, but not enough for it to really be a problem. Coming back, however, I did not feel very good, and it took me about a week to get over it actually. Definitely had a cold and a cough, definitely not COVID. I did loads of tests. So I'm just starting to feel a bit more like myself now, but that might be why I might sound like I still have a cold. because I am still a bit blah, blah, blah. But anyway, maybe you've seen some footage of the holiday, maybe not sure, because as I mentioned loads of times, sometimes my computer can cope with extra clips, sometimes it can't, and yeah, I mean, we'll see. You would have seen what I've managed to put in. Yes, so it's spring, it's sunny, it's still cold, but it is sunny, and it's made such a difference. I will say, I would like to say I have more energy because of the sun, but yesterday I fell asleep at 5 o'clock watching a podcast, 5 o'clock in the evening. I'm really sorry, Annie, of the Pomegranate Girl. I was watching your podcast, which I was really enjoying. This is no reflection on your content whatsoever. I think it just sums up how run down I've been feeling. And I got about halfway through and I was knitting and I was like, I'm too tired to knit. I think I'm just going to lie down and watch the remainder of this. And I was in my window bed, which you can see the corner of here. And I fell asleep within 5 minutes. And then I woke up towards the end of her podcast. And she was just finishing. I was like, shit, I've been asleep for like 45 minutes. And so I watched the rest of it this morning actually with my cup of coffee. So there you go, you get an extra play count from me because the laptop thinks I watched it twice. Pomegranate Girl is one of my favourite podcasts actually. She's really lovely. Oh god, the light's gone really orange. She's from Bristol. I think she's actually from Wales, but she lives in Bristol, which is quite close to where I did most of my growing up in England. I am half English, I'm half American as well, but I grew up mostly in the southwest. So when she talks about places around her, it kind of feels quite, I don't know, quite familiar. And we have a lot of similar tastes when it comes to yarns. And so I quite enjoy watching her. So if you like my knitting, you'll probably like her knitting, if you don't already watch her. And she's running a fun knit along at the moment about stories, so you should check that out. What was I going to say? Finish objects. Okay, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4 finished objects. 4, I think, which is more than I normally have. 1 whip to share because all the others are hibernating. Do you say hibernating? I think that's what Ravelry say, isn't it? Hibernating. Or abandoned. And 1, 2, 3, 4 plants for knitting, maybe more, and some sewing stuff. Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, okay, well let's start. So my first finished object is what I'm wearing. So this is my Magnolia bloom. So it's got, as you can see, like a lace and textured yoke. It's got a double thickness roll neck, and comes down to like my hip here. So this has been on my queue for a really long time. I think it's a really beautiful pattern, and for my birthday I was given by a friend a jumper's quantity of Debbie Bliss Cashmerino Aran, which is extra fine merino wool and cashmere. So 55% wool, 33% acrylic, 12% cashmere. Potentially not superwash. Although it does say you can stick it in the washing machine, so maybe it is. Don't know. So I think it's actually quite bold buying a sweater quantity worth of yarn for somebody for a present when they have no idea. I probably never would have bought this yarn myself because of the acrylic content. However, I love this jumper. It is really soft. So I was given 8 to 10 balls at this stage. I actually don't remember how many of this yarn. They're 50 grams, and it's like an off black, like it's not black, it's like charcoaly grey. So again, like I think choosing a colour for a jumper for someone else is like a really difficult decision, but she did really well. I have a, which is not to hand, a very old H&M jumper which semi-thrifted. Basically a friend had it and never wore it, which I, in this colour actually, like a heathered charcoal colour, like it's this colour with like grey fluffy bits on it, and I embroidered some flowers on the shoulders. It's possible I've worn it in one of these videos because I live in it, which has quite a high neck as well actually. And I live in it, so possibly that's why she bought this colour, because she's seen me in that jumper loads of times. I find it quite an easy, I don't know what to wear, I'll wear that jumper item, because it's actually also quite thin as well, so I can wear it pretty much all year round on top of things because it's a bit big for me. So I can wear it over a warm jumper to be warm, but I can also wear it as a jumper and it's not, it's acrylic, so it's not warm at all. But because it's like kind of baggy, it sort of hides everything. So, but however, talking to another friend who knits, because I did think this was superwash and I think it still might be, she told me how a lot of her superwash garments bubbled quite a lot and wore quite badly, and I know they do tend to wear quite badly, like they stretch out, they bag out, they get bubbly really quickly, and that's probably why I do avoid, apart from like the environmental reasons, I do avoid superwash yarn. No judgment on anyone who does use it. I do use it for my socks a lot, but for garments I want to be as warm as possible, and because I freeze to death, and I want them to retain their shape, so I don't use superwash yarns on my jumpers. So I was a bit worried about that, so I was like, okay, if I'm going to go to the effort of making a jumper, I want it to wear well. So this friend also said she'd knitted some jumpers with superwash yarn held with mohair, and they'd fed much better. So I think I spoke about this last time. I ended up buying Midnatssol, don't know, which is a baby alpaca, Tencel and merino blend. Tencel is something I use in my clothes a lot as a fabric, and it's made from trees, well, from wood pulp. It's a very sustainable option, and I think people are starting to use it in yarn instead of nylon, which is quite exciting, and I guess that's the function it's serving here, because there is no plastic in this. It's all natural. Alpaca is the fluffy component. I have a scrap left over down here somewhere. Oh, I did. Where's it gone? The alpaca is the baby alpaca is the fluffy component. I don't know how well you can see. And so the Tencel will be like the plasticky component, and then the 10% merino, I guess, gives it some bulk. And I held them double to create this jumper. You can see it's got quite a lot of fluff, and though that's not really in focus, you can kind of, that's the colour really. Maybe that's a bit better. So I think I knit, sorry, my hair's coming down. I think I knit the second size. Yes, I knit the second size. I can't actually remember if I did a swatch or not. I mean, I guess I did. Otherwise, how would I know? I think I did, and I was close enough. I don't really remember if I did or not. Yes, I did, and I unravelled it. That's it. I did a swatch, and I don't think that's any better, but there we go. I did a swatch and I unravelled it, so I didn't want to waste any of the fluff, because I only ordered 3 balls of fluff, and it was going to be just about enough. However, the pattern has bell sleeves, and it's a lot like baggier, so I thought I'd be okay, because I wasn't going to do bell sleeves, and then that would give me just about enough to like finish it. So here's the yoke detail. So I'm like sticking my chest out. And I do really like it, but I must admit it feels a bit mad for me, which maybe is a bold thing to say about a grey jumper, but especially these bubbles on the shoulder, because they're right on my shoulder. I feel like it's very shoulder dramatic. I think I would prefer it if that set of bubbles wasn't on it. And obviously I can't take them off because it would unravel. I think I'd feel a lot less conscious if they weren't there, because I feel a bit weird, because I feel like it makes my shoulders bigger. But otherwise, I think the body was meant to be baggier. When I first put it on, I was like, oh god, that's why it looks oversized. That's why it's oversized in the photos, because that balances out the drama of the yoke. If it's oversized, it looks less mad, I think. So I do think maybe it came out a bit small. It would have been better if it was a bit bigger. That was probably not doing proper gauge, or maybe I should have gone up another size. But I think one of my reasons was I thought it might stretch out because of the fibre content and it'd get bigger over time. You can probably see there's a bit of a line across here as well. And I don't know whether that's because towards the end I put it on the radiator to dry, and I'm really hoping that's the case, so next time I wash it that line will come out. Or whether it was from where I put a lifeline in, because it's like right at the bottom of the lace, so it's possible that is where, you know, where I put the lifeline in. So I'm hoping, because in some lights you can really see it, that will fade. I really like the back. I don't know if you can see that. I think the back looks really pretty. I like the back more than the front, to be honest. I don't know if it's because my back's flat. And then, I don't know. But anyway, I will say the combo of the unpronounceable fluff and the Debbie Bliss Cashmerino is so soft. I slept in this last night actually, which was maybe a bit naughty. It probably didn't do the bubbles any good. It's so soft. And I'm hoping somewhere I have another scrag end of fluff, but I think this might be all that's left. I'm hoping there's another one of these lingering somewhere in a project bag, because I have 3 full skeins and 3 scrag ends left, and I would like to make something else super soft. I was thinking I'd make my partner a hat, but he lost the last hat I made him, which I'm still upset about, and it was months ago. And I don't want to waste this super soft combination on him because he won't care. So yeah, I don't know what I'd make. It's not enough to make a cardigan. It's probably just under 200 grams. So I don't know, maybe a thick, like, what was it? Jessie Mae's like tank tops that are like worsted weight or something. I don't know. Maybe that's a bad idea. Maybe a hat for myself. Not sure. It's got acrylic in it, so maybe some kind of like hand mitteny thing, because that'll make it more hard wearing. I'm not sure, but anyway, so I've got that to play with at another time. Maybe a Christmas present for somebody who would appreciate something super soft and washable. That could also be a good option. So the next finished object then is a pet, which, you know, talking about presents, is my first Christmas present of the year. You're probably going to be like, what? I did show you these in progress. I will actually untie them. I tied them up ready to gift because I put them in a storage bag to put away for Christmas, but fine, it's not a problem. So these are the Snowshoe socks by the girl that does Viola yarns. How can I forget her name? Everybody talks about her. Knits About Winter. The Knits About Winter book. What's her name? I'm looking behind me because I'm pretty sure the book is here somewhere. Emily Foden. The book's just there. Emily Foden. Snowshoe Socks by Emily Foden. So I don't know if I showed this last time, but I had this yarn in stash that I bought that was really ugly. I really hated it. I think I have mentioned this. I didn't really like the way the colours played out. I'm going to try and unravel this at some point, but this is kind of how it looked. And her pattern is like you hold a couple of yarns together. So I held it together with a single strand of wool from a cone, which was a neutral colour, and I really liked the way they came out. It really toned down the colours, and I absolutely love these socks. They're so thick and squishy, and they are for her to do. She does like Pilates type yoga type thing where she likes to have socks for the beginning and end, or for her to wear in her wellies when she walks the dogs, or for around the house. I don't really care. I've made the heels as dense as possible. I didn't use the wool on the heels, I used the Ugly Yarn Held Double, so it is really thick and dense, so it should be as hard wearing as possible. And yeah, and they're like a 3x1 rib sock, and they're really cozy. So that was my first finished object, and I have left downstairs by accident another whip, which is a pair for myself. So made out of slightly different combination of yarns. It's made from, how did I fold these up before? Made from some leftovers from some mittens. Did I show my fingerless gloves to you last time? No, I didn't actually, did I? I hadn't quite finished them. Oh god, I should have those out as well. I don't know where they are. I finished them, but I'm using the leftovers of those and a strand of wool to make myself some, which aren't actually quite as nice as these. The reason why I think these worked out really well is because the yarn's quite mottled, so even though it's kind of an ugly yarn, because it changes really slowly and the colours kind of blend together, I think it has the perfect amount of like grunge factor, if you know what I mean. So I think they're really nice. So yes, so I should also have those fingerless gloves to show you. If I remember, I'll take a photo and pop it in. They aren't the neatest thing I've ever made. Not entirely sure the most practical thing I've ever made either, but you know, they are cute, so I'm happy with that. And then the remaining two finished objects, so these are all quite small things other than the jumper, and because this was knit on thick needles, it actually knit out really quick, are the projects I took on holiday with me. So the first one, and the one I knit on the most, are these socks. So, sorry, there's like thread everywhere because my room's a bit of a mess, which you can't really see. Because I've tried to hide the mess as much as possible. So these are knit from a self-striping, which I bought from Little Grey Girl. And it was her colourway for the Unravel festival, which I did not go to, but I think she had some left over, so she was selling it. And I really wanted to take some self-driving socks on holiday with me because, as mentioned, my flight was like 25 hours there, 25 hours back with the stopovers. And I thought, well, I want something small and portable that doesn't require much thought but will hold my interest. And I was right, it turned out I needed something other than just a plain sock to keep me motivated, because it was kind of like, right, I want to achieve this many stripes during this part of the car journey, etc. So I did do some knitting in the car, that wasn't always possible. I did most of it on the planes. And yeah, they're really lovely. It's just a plain vanilla sock, heel flap and gusset, normal wedge toe, and that's it. So nothing really exciting. But these are my souvenir, which may sound odd because I didn't buy them whilst I was there, but I did the whole thing except from the toes whilst on holiday. So yeah, that's my souvenir. I tried to do a slightly longer leg because I think most of my socks come out a bit short, and I've noticed I'm gravitating towards a particular pair which is a bit longer in the leg, so I'm excited to finally start wearing these. And I have enough yarn left to make another pair, which I was going to make for my partner, but he said they were ugly, so I don't know what I'm going to use it for now. Perhaps a pair for my mum, but she didn't really say anything when I showed them to her either, so maybe not. That's a shame, because you could buy her colourway in 50 grams or 100 grams, and I bought the 100 grams so that I could make someone else a pair, because I thought it was a really lovely colour combination, but it seems like no one else likes the colour combination, so I don't know what I'm going to do with it. What else do you use self-striping sock yarn for that would actually look half decent, knit up in another way other than for socks? Let me know. My final whip, I bought this, so I went to Leap London, I think end of last year, and I treated myself to some yarns, one of which was this Life in the Long Grass sock. which is like a pale sagey green, and it has flecks of fluorescent yellow, gungy yellow, and then gungy blues and browns. And I really like this colour. It's one of my favourite colours. There's quite a lot of things in this room which you can't see, which are this colour. Ooh. And my backpack's that colour, my coat is that colour but darker, my phone case is that colour. It's a colour I'm definitely drawn to. And I bought it with the intention of making a tank top, which looks extremely small and has a tail still there that I've not trimmed. But it does fit, and I was going to wear it for today's video, but it's still too cold. So it is a bit shorter than I wanted. This is technically the second time I've knit this pattern. I knit one before, but it's like really short. I think I knit it how the pattern suggested, and it's just too short really. This I think comes down to about here, which is maybe shorter than I would like to wear as a tank top. It is a bralette pattern, not a tank top pattern, and it has like a lot of negative ease, so look how much it stretches. So I could possibly have gone up another size because it's a little bit tight on the bind off and cast off, and I did use the old Norwegian cast on and Jenny's super stretchy bind off. No, I didn't use Jenny's super stretchy bind off. The last time I knit it I did. This time, because it says bind off tightly I think, and I was like, oh no, bind off loose. It says bind off normal but loosely. And I was like, I think it's odd that she's not recommending using a super stretchy bind off. So I went up, when I bound off, I went up multiple needle sizes like Andrew Mowry suggests and bound off normally. So I think if I did it again, I would use the super stretchy bind off, which doesn't look as nice, but it is on your back, so who cares? And it would probably be a little bit more comfortable on my shoulders. So I do really like it, and I think I'll wear it a lot. I wanted it to be more of like a vest to wear under my clothes in the winter. I don't like wearing a bra when I'm at home, so it was kind of instead of that. So I'm thinking of casting another one on, but maybe I'll wear this one a bit more first before I do that, because it took me a weirdly long time to knit it and I got really bored, and that's why it's not any longer than it is, because I got so bored of the ribbing. I mean, I think it's about the same amount of knitting as a pair of socks, because it's used about the same amount of yarn, although it is on a bigger needle. I just got a bit bored of it. But once you get to the point where you split for the, you do the front, that from there on it's really quick. So it's just getting to the point where you bind off for the back. That takes ages. But I think it's really pretty, so I'm happy with that. And then, that's all my finished objects to show you. Yes, it is. I don't know why when I move in certain directions, it goes a bit yellow. It's strange. Okay, so whips. I haven't started anything new because I have quite a lot of whips. I have that purpley cowl that I started, which I might be about to frog. I have my moon socks I was knitting. I finished the first one, but I'm not going to show it to you. I'll show it to you when I finish the whole pair. I have some chunky socks I started for myself. I have a pair of socks half made that my mum started making. She made 1.5 socks and she wants me to finish the pair because she's had enough. I have another half made pair of socks and a cardigan that I started and a shawl that I started. The shawl was from that really lovely brown yarn I bought, but I'm not feeling the pull towards it now because I think it's a very wintry autumnal knit. So even though it's a really gorgeous yarn and it was a birthday present, I'm considering putting it aside until I fill the drawer again in the autumn, because I think the clothes I'm going to be wearing from now until then won't be the clothes that will go with it, so I'll probably make it and not wear it, and that'd be a bit of a shame. What I am feeling the draw towards is more colourful knits, which I guess is fairly predictable because it's that time of year. And I have a few projects I'm thinking about doing, but one of the things that's been languishing, I'm starting to feel really guilty about languishing, is my Beetle cardigan, which I have no idea when I started it now, to be honest. When she released the pattern. How long ago was that? A long time ago. So one of the reasons, I'm just checking my stitches aren't falling off. One of the reasons why I stopped was because I wasn't enjoying the feel of the yarn at the time, and it looked really scrunched and bunched up on the colourwork, and I was really worried that it was going to look dreadful, because this was possibly the second colourwork, or I think I started it first and then I got carried away with my Fern and Feather, which was more pleasurable because it's thicker and it was more forgiving, or I'm not really sure, so I'm not sure that it was like I really knew what I was doing, not that I know what I'm doing now when it comes to colourwork. And it took me a really long time to do it, so I was reluctant to rip out and redo it. And I was also really worried about the neck because I'd done a super stretchy cast on and the neck looked a bit floppy and weird. And so someone suggested that I block what I had done and see how it looked before then carrying on. So if it did look dreadful, then I'd have to rip it out and do it again. So I did just that. I blocked it, and actually blocking is magic, of course it is, and it looks so much better. The neckline looks livable, and the colourwork again looks passable. It is still a bit bumpy, it's not my flattest work, but it's good enough. You might see that there's a bit of a funny bit down the front. That's because it is a jumper pattern, but I decided I wanted to make it a cardigan, so I've added a steek. So, because I don't have very many cardigans, and I thought it'd be like a nice autumn cardigan layering piece. This is all naturally dyed yarn. It's some like undyed yarn that I acquired and then dyed naturally with henna. And then the blue beetles are some minis from an advent calendar for Woolly Mammoth Fibre Co, which I think is really lovely because the original pattern uses a colour changing yarn, and then this isn't a colour changing yarn. There are lots of subtle variations in it, so they do give that kind of like shifted beetle colour. So I picked this up yesterday. This is what I was doing when I was watching Pomegranate Girl, and I've knit about an inch on the body, and oh god, I am dropping stitches. I'm going to try and make a real concerted effort to finish it. I think I'm going to make it a cropped cardigan with bracelet length sleeves, probably quite straight sleeves, not quite as time fitted as I tend to do, maybe with no shaping at all, possibly. I really want to make sure it fits over things. So yeah, and actually now that I've gone back to it, I don't hate it as much as I did before. Like, I really hated working on it when I was looking at it previously, and now that I'm working on it again, I actually don't know why I felt so strongly about it. It's not anywhere near as bad as I remember it being. So I don't know what that was about. I guess in comparison to whatever I was working on at the time, maybe I was doing a lot of thick projects and so it felt really small and fiddly. Whereas at the moment, you know, I've been doing lots of socks and like bralettes and things, and so like it, you know, it's been the opposite. I have been working on fingering weight projects. So, and it's a bag I've made. So that's my only like main whip at the moment. However, I do have those other chunky socks which you can't see, which I am working on for myself. That's my portable project. Although, to be honest, this is just plain stockinette round and round, so I might take this out and around with me too for a while to try and get some more rows in. But I have lots of projects I would like to cast on. So, the first one is overlapping with an acquisition. I did a trade with Striped Cat Yarns, who's gifted me yarn before. This isn't gifted, this was semi-traded, semi-paid for. So I sent her some stitch markers and a bit of money to top it up to the same value as this. So I kind of feel like that's not a gifted item because we have exchanged to the value. I'm just being transparent. And this is her Alice in Wonderland colourway. So she's doing a collection of yarns inspired by children's books, and this is the Alice in Wonderland one. So it's a surprise, and so I sent her some of my Alice in Wonderland themed stitch markers, of which I have a couple sets left, and the first 5 purchases of the ones that are left will get a free extra Alice in Wonderland themed progress keeper. So that's, at the time of saying this, I will put a note on the screen if those 5 have gone. If there's no note on the screen, that means there's still 5 sets left with a free progress keeper available. And so yeah, it's like these blues and pinks, and then the mini skein is rust and pink. Now, when she told me the mini skein was going to be pink, I was like, I'm not really a pink person. However, when it arrived, I actually think that mini skein with the rust in I like more than the main skein. I absolutely love it. When it focus. God, my voice is weird, and God, it's gone yellow. There we go. I'd say it's a fairly accurate representation of colour. So, part of me is considering making a pair of stripy socks, like quite thick stripes, maybe like 4 row stripes, using the mini skein and this. I think would be stunning. And using this to make another bralette, because this is about 50 grams, so it wouldn't be any longer than this one, it'd be the same size. But I think it could be quite pretty. I don't know, what do you think? Because though I really like it, and I definitely could make socks with this, I'm not sure it goes with the shoes that I wear where you can see my handmade socks. So they would, oh, I keep going yellow, they would get hidden in boots, which seems a shame, really. So what do we think? Striped socks, ripple bralette, or Alice in Wonderland themed socks? I'm not sure. But yes, so really lovely. And if I get my act together and cast this on soon, maybe I will enter myself into Pomegranate Girls knit along. Although don't worry, Annie, if I do enter and do win, I'm not going to ask for my prize of stitch markers because they are from me. They're the Alice in Wonderland. One of her prizes are the Alice in Wonderland themed stitch markers. So another reason, if you like my stitch markers and you like Alice in Wonderland, do join her knit along because yeah, she bought some stitch markers from me. Not gifted, she did buy them. Again, trying to be transparent. I didn't realise she was doing that, otherwise I would have sent her some for herself as well. Yeah, so... was that a bit garbled? Maybe I will... I mean, I'm sure I could enter a tank top made with Alice in Wonderland themed yarn into her knit along. Maybe I'll ask her about the rules. So that's one of my potential future casts on. Another... and sorry, my voice is getting really garbly now. Something that I've been wanting to cast on for a really long time, but I've been dragging my heels, is the tulip jumper, or another Pluto Lopi mohair pattern. So I bought, and you can probably see it stacked on my ladder here, and there is one more of those which I've opened. I'm really paranoid about moths. So mostly I don't leave my yarn out unless it's somehow protected in jam jars behind my glass cupboard. I have a wooden cupboard here where things are all in bags. You can see there is a cone and a few other bits out, but I'm about to go on my spring freezing rampage where I freeze everything just to make sure if there was anything it's dead, because this is the time of year where they'll start hatching out and eating your yarn as it starts warming up. So FYI, this is the time where the damage is going to happen. I'm a bit paranoid about it, so probably soon I will be freezing everything that's been out in the open and putting it away. But let's say like that Pluto there, the plates, so like the short round stack of yarn there. And I also have in a cupboard up here a cone of vintage mohair, which is a little bit yellowy. I don't know if you can see. And so this is a swatch of 2 strands held together of Pluto and 1 strand of my yellowy mohair. And it is really, really lovely. And so I made a note to myself of what it was. Shit. I've written on here 2 strands of Pluto 1 strand of mohair, tulip, knit the 3rd size. And I've worked out the gauge measurements on the back. Nowhere have I written on here the size of needle I used. Shit. How stupid was that? I did this ages ago as well. Crap. Okay, sorry, that's a lot of swearing. I probably shouldn't be swearing on here so much. I can only assume that that means I used the needles recommended in the pattern. I'm going to say yes, that's what I did. And so obviously my gauge wasn't quite spot on. And so to accommodate for that, I decided I would knit the size 3 of the tulip sweater. However, everybody I know that has knit one of Melody Hoffman's jumper patterns complain about her neckline, saying they're too big, too wide, too baggy and stretch out. So I don't know what I'm going to do. I also think the tulip jumper is very much one of those things where I look at people wearing it and think, they look lovely, I want to look like them. Like Knitting Nelly, she has a really gorgeous photo of her wearing her tulip jumper over a skirt or dress, and it looks lovely. And I think, I want to have that outfit and look like that. But I wonder if in reality, it is a jumper that I would wear. So I do have the pattern, I bought it. I don't know whether I'm going to knit the tulip jumper or whether I should knit another Felix pullover or a Felix cardigan, or whether to do a different raglan jumper and do the tulip hem. I'm really undecided, and I am wondering now whether this is something I should wait for next autumn to knit. It's not a knit I can take outside of the house because it's a cone of mohair and 2 plates of Plutolopi, so it's going to be a very stationary knit. So yes, I'm unsure about that, but I did really, really want to knit it, but I must admit the desire to knit it now is sort of ebbing away a bit now that it's warming up. But maybe it would be a good thing to knit and have for those cold English evenings in a paler colour, because most of my jumpers are quite dark. And I think the tulip jumper maybe looks a little bit more dressy than my Fern and Feather. So maybe it's still a good thing to knit. I don't know. Another thing I'm really thinking about knitting is I have this leftover, I think it's like an Aran weight linen, and it's about 80 grams. So I'm thinking about making a DK, Jessie made DK crop top tank thing with that, because I can't think what else I could use 80 grams of thick linen for. So again, if anybody has any thoughts what you would use for like 80 grams of Aran weight or DK weight, I don't know how thick it is to be honest, linen, let me know, because I don't know, I have no idea. And then my last, not my last potential knit, one of them. Some of you will notice I cast on the Colourway shawl twice in 2 different types of yarn. I really, really want to knit it, and so I have these. I have actually a lot more of this because I have something knit up which I'm probably going to unravel. And I think they would make a really nice Colourway shawl, perhaps with something else quite neutral in there as well. Although I was thinking I might use this as the main colour. This is a lichen and lace singles in the colourway Pressed Flowers. This was the first fancy yarn I ever bought, before I knew what singles was and how badly it would wear as a pair of mittens. My mum knit me a pair of mittens in it, which I persuaded her to do. I've never worn them because they don't fit, and I've realised now they would wear really badly, so I think I'm going to unravel them. and use it to make the Colourway shawl, and then these would be like colour contrasts, as well as maybe with something a bit darker as well to lift it. I'm unsure. So I'm thinking like for socks, I probably need half of what's left for the pair of socks, and maybe I can use half to put in the Colourway shawl as well. And actually that would mean that one skein has gone quite far, because that would be a tank top, a pair of socks, and a contribution to the shawl, which I quite like because it was quite expensive. It was like £25. So that makes me feel like it was really worth it. And maybe a good way of buying yarn, rather than buying a skein of yarn to use part of it in a shawl, it's quite nice knowing that you can use it in all of those projects, and it'd be really like, you know, making use of it. I don't know, is that the right thing to say? And then the last kind of 2 potential thoughts knitting wise I'm considering. My purple cowl I started. I'm thinking of ripping it back and using the silk alpaca linen yarn to make a wrap top, and I'll insert a picture if I remember, like another summery top. So I might do that because I think maybe that's more wearable. I did think about making it out of the blue or the pink that I've got left that I've not knit up. Pink will make me look naked, and I think I just really want the purple. So that'll mean I've tried to knit with that yarn like 4 times now and unravelled it. So we'll see, but I've fallen out in love with the cowl, so maybe it's not a good idea to do that. And the other thing is I'm probably going to be knitting a Let Lopey jumper for my mother, but that's not due till August, so maybe I'll save that plan for next time. So as you can see, I have lots of small things I want to knit. There are lots of jumpers I want to knit as well, but I'm wondering if I should give myself some time to work on some smaller summery projects, or maybe it's still quite early in the year. Maybe I should crack on with my Pluto Lopey jumper whilst it's still not very warm, and then crack on with the summer knits. I'm not sure. What do you guys do? Do you knit seasonally? I'm not sure I ever have done before, so I'm not really sure what I think about it. And then the last thing, sewing. Just gonna have some more tea because my voice is going. So my only acquisition sewing wise for the month, I don't know if I showed this one to you last time, but I am a Patreon for a lovely printmaker who's based, I think, in New England, maybe somewhere else, maybe Minnesota, which I know is nowhere near. I don't know why. I think she goes back and forth quite a lot, but maybe not that far, because that'd be a long way, I think. But definitely this one is new. That one might not have arrived yet when I showed you last time. And so I think I showed you that I'm working on a big quilt project. So I'm hoping today that I'll get some time to sew these 2 up into a patch. Maybe not this one, because this one is a slightly different dimension to this one, and so far all of my blocks are squares. So I'm trying to find a way of making a block that will fit that isn't square. I really like this one. I think it's really cute. And her name is Abe Studio. So I really recommend that. She's really inspiring. Her clothing as well is amazing. And so the other thing I'm doing, other than my quilt, is whilst I was on holiday, my favourite pair of trousers wore through. My beloved Chandler Pants by So Liberated, which are elastic waist with these big pockets, and slightly tapered legs. So these are the Slim Hack Chandler Pants, and she has instructions on how to do that on her website or Instagram or something, because the pattern's actually much baggier than that naturally. I have absolutely lived in these. These are made from Tencel Twill by Merchant and Mills, which is a really lovely, like, matte, flowy fabric. But on the ass, I have completely busted them and worn the fabric really smooth on the crotch feel like possibly I've worn the tencel out of it. Is that possible? I think it's all tencel. I don't know, but like the fabric has like kind of like a grey hint to it, and then where I've worn it through there is none of that grey, so something has been worn out. I'm not sure what component of the fibre that is, so I would like to fix them, but I'm not really sure how, because the hole is here and they're like thin all across here. When I did the hole, I thought the hole was in the crotch, and I thought I could just top stitch a patch inside the leg. But I think if I put a patch on my bum, it might look a bit weird. So I'm not really sure I'm going to fix them. I'm kind of debating putting some iron-on interfacing with some of the same fabric on the inside of the hole, and then stitching over it lots of times with matching thread. So that will be fairly visible from the outside, but maybe not as bad as a patch. And then where it's worn bare, do like a patch and top stitch that so that it kind of blends with the flat felled details. But if anybody has a better idea, because I'm assuming that if it's gone through on the bum there, that it's potential it could happen anywhere along that seam. I mean, it does look like it could go again somewhere else. So I don't know whether these trousers are just at the end of their life and that's it. And this is what happens when you live in clothes. I made these about 2.5 years ago, which doesn't seem like very long, but I wear them tons, like absolutely tons. So I don't know, it just seems a shame when the rest of them are completely fine, like the knees are fine, everywhere else is fine. So yeah, I don't know. If they are bust, what do I use the rest of the fabric for? I don't know. So that makes me a bit sad. So that's kind of a conundrum. And so because I can't live without having a pair of these trousers in my wardrobe, I had, when I went to Merchant & Mills end of last summer and stocked up on fabric, I had bought some dark green. There we go, that's a good colour. This is a tencel linen blend, so it's not just tencel, it's not just linen, so it has the same kind of slub details, which I don't think, oh, there we go, it has the same kind of slub details that linen does, but the drape and like the feeling of tencel. For those of you who have not used tencel, it does feel like a matte silk. Flows really beautifully. I absolutely love it, and it's quite a sustainable fibre, definitely way more so than silk, but it's just really good. I've made quite a few nice dresses in it, and not overly expensive. I don't think. I think it's something like £17 a metre from Merchant & Mills, which isn't that bad for their prices. It might even be 15 to be honest. And it comes in loads of different colours. So, and I like it because it's a plain colour, but it's not a flat colour, and that's something that's really hard to show you on my rubbish phone. But it's not a completely like, it's not a solid flat colour. There's like the way the light catches it, there's a bit of variation. Like using a slightly tonal yarn, I guess. Like it doesn't, it's not like a flat colour. There is some interest there. So I'd be interested to see how the linen tencel works, because I have found that my linen, although I love it, I do have to mend it more often than I've had to. I've not mended those trousers once before. They've kind of spectacularly bust rather than just slightly. So whereas with my linen, I do have to mend it more often. So these will be very wearable, and I did buy this fabric with the intention of making those trousers. However, I know I'm going to miss my purple ones because weirdly they went with everything. I didn't realise I was a purple person, so I made those trousers. And the reason I bought that fabric was because it was a heavily reduced remnant that I saw when I went to Merchant & Mills the first time. And I thought, wow, it's reduced. I'm sure I can make something out of it. And it was a bit of a, I'll just give this pattern a go. Like, I didn't really, it was an experiment and I completely fell in love. They're probably one of my most worn items of clothing. So, I mean, just a comparison, this is ordinary Tencel twill and this is the combined one. I don't know if that's helpful. The light isn't that great. So these are going in my scrap pile I have on the floor that I'm making my quilt with. So, but what I have learnt from this is don't use all of your scraps. It is helpful keeping some scraps from the same fabric to mend things with when they eventually wear through. But I think that's everything I have for today. I could keep talking, but it's been an hour. An hour is long enough. So thank you very much. I was really hoping this would be half an hour long. Clearly it wasn't. So sorry. And I will see you next time. Bye.